The descent started on night 5, but I didn't recognize it as descent. I thought I was investigating. I thought I was solving the problem. That I was actually doing was dissolving. Dale came in from his shift at 1800, and when he saw me at my desk, he smiled with teeth that were slightly too white. "Rough day, buddy?" he said. And the words were right, the tone was right, but the cadence was mine, the exact rhythm I use when I'm checking on someone who's had a bad call. "I'm fine," I said. "You always say that." He smiled, his laugh, the one I do when I'm deflecting. "Even when you're not. Even when you're sitting there thinking about how everything's falling apart and you can't tell anyone because they'll think you're crazy." I stared at him. "I never said that out loud." "Didn't you?" He tilted his head. The angle was perfect. The angle I use when I'm assessing someone's mental state. "Maybe you did, and you just don't remember. You've been having those blank spots, haven't you?" My headache pulsed behind my eyes. Sharp spike of pressure. What blank spots? Dale pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, turned it towards me. Security footage. Black and white, timestamp 3:07, 2 nights ago. I was standing in the hallway outside the operations room. My eyes were closed, my lips were moving, forming words I couldn't hear through the silent footage. My hands were at my sides, fingers twitching in sequence. Counting. "You stood there for 4 minutes, Dale said softly. "Then you walked back to your desk and kept working like nothing happened. Morrison asked if you were okay. He said you'd just been checking the thermostat." "I don't remember that." "I know." He put the phone away. His smile was gentle, concerned, perfectly calibrated to my own expressions of empathy. "It's okay, Ben. We all have blank spots now. It's easier once you stop fighting it." Morrison appeared in the doorway, coffee cup in his hand, that same too-wide smile. "Everything okay in here?" "Ben's having a hard time," Dale said. "We're all worried about him." Morrison's voice was warm, fatherly, using the exact inflection I'd heard him use with rookie officers who were struggling. "Maybe you should take some time off before something happens." I stood up so fast my chair hit the wall. "I'm going on patrol." "At night?" Morrison's eyebrows raised. "That's not safe, Ben. You know the rules." "It's 8 o'clock. I have 7 hours before the rules matter." I grabbed my coat and I walked out. Neither of them tried to stop me. They just watched me leave with those patient, knowing smiles. Outside, the cold hit like a fist. -42. Kind of cold that makes your lungs ache, turns your breath to ice crystals before it leaves your mouth. I got in my truck and started driving with no destination in mind, just the need to move, to be away from those smiles. That's when I noticed the night clerk through the station window. Mary, 60-something, always hems while she filed paperwork. She was standing perfectly still at her desk, head tilted at that familiar angle, staring directly at me with pupils so dilated her eyes looked black. I drove. The headache had evolved beyond pain into something else. Pressure, density, like my skull was filling with frost, ice crystals forming in the spaces between thoughts. Sometimes when I blinked, I saw after images. A tall figure standing in my peripheral vision, a hand reaching for my shoulder, the shape of someone's face pressed against the passenger window, breath fogging the glass from the inside. I pulled over on an empty stretch of road and checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Sarah. 2 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to. A text from Thomas. Need to talk. I stared at that message for a full minute. Then I opened my phone and scrolled back to the night of the rescue. The gap was still there, photos from 2:45 showing my gear laid out on the station floor, then nothing until 4:23 showing me filing paperwork with what looked like mud on my boots. No, not mud, frozen blood. I drove to Thomas's house. Sat in the driveway for 10 minutes, engine running, heat blasting, trying to steady my breathing. His truck was there. Lights on in the kitchen. Through the window I could see him sitting at the table, head in his hands. I knocked. He opened the door and looked at me with eyes that had forgotten how to sleep. "Show me a picture of your daughter," I said. He just stared. "Nika, your daughter, the one I saved. Show me a picture." Thomas reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone with shaking hand, scrolled through his photos. He turned the screen toward me. A boy, maybe 6 years old. Dark hair, bright smile, holding up a fish almost as big as he was. "Tobias," Thomas said quietly. "My son. My only son." "No!" The word came out broken. "No, you have a daughter. Nika, 8 years old. She took the dog sled out to check the nets. I found her in a frost heave at 3:09, and I brought her back." "I know you did." His voice cracked. "I know you brought someone back, but Ben, I've never had a daughter. I've checked my birth certificates, my tax records, my wife's medical files. We only had Tobias. He's 6. But I remember thanking you for saving Nika. I remember bringing you salmon. I remember her face." He grabbed my arm, fingers digging in hard. "I remember things that never happened, and the more I try to hold on to those memories, the more they slip away and they get replaced by things they feel wrong. Wrong, but everyone else says they're right." "What do you mean?" "Bias's birthday. My wife and I celebrated it 2 weeks ago. He turned 6. But when I look at the photos, he's in clothes that are too small. And in the background, there's a shadow. Tall, thin, wearing something that looks like your SAR coat. And I can see your name patch, but the letters are backwards." The frost behind my eyes expanded. "What did I bring back?" I whispered. "I don't know." Thomas's eyes were wet. "But it's wearing your face now. 3 nights ago, Tobias woke up screaming, saying there was a man in his room who looked like Officer Harper, but his smile was wrong. I checked, I found nothing. When I turned on the lights, there were boot prints in the frost on his window. From the inside, Ben. Like someone had been standing in his room, breathing on the glass." I backed away from his door. My mind fractured. I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be sorry." His voice followed me to my truck. "Just fix it. Whatever you did, whatever deal you made, fix it. Fix it before it takes everyone." I drove back to the station. I parked. I couldn't make myself go inside. The building looked wrong. The windows were glowing, but the light was too steady. It was too perfect. There was no flicker. There was no shadow, just flat, even illumination that made my eyes hurt. Dale was visible through the operations room window. He was typing on his computer, that same mechanical precision, his posture too straight, his movements too measured. Every 30 seconds he stopped, he tilted his head, and he resumed typing like a metronome, like clockwork. I couldn't go in there, not yet. I drove to the library instead. Margaret was at her desk, even though it was nearly midnight. She looked up when I entered. Her smile was immediate. Wide and wrong. "Benjamin, working late." I need to see the archives again, old records, everything you have from before 1960. "Of course." She stood with that fluid grace that belongs to someone decades younger. "Right this way." She led me down the stairs. The air grew colder with each step, my breath fogging in the dim light. The basement smelled like old paper. And something else. Something organic and rotting. "Here we are." Margaret gestured to the shelves. "Take your time. I'll be upstairs if you need anything." She left me alone with the boxes. I started pulling files, incident reports from the 1950s, search and rescue logs, community newsletters, every document I'd looked at before, trying to trace Akna's presence through the decades, but the photos, they were different now. 1956 group photo, Auntie was back. She was standing in the second row this time, clearly visible, same gray hair, same smile. 1968 dedication ceremony, there she was, front and center, shaking hands with the mayor. The wartime civil defense meeting, she was at the podium speaking to the assembled crowd. She hadn't been erased, she'd been rewritten, made more visible, more present, like reality was retroactively adjusting to accommodate her existence. I kept digging, going further back. 1947, a photo of volunteers clearing snow from the old airstrip. Auntie in the background holding a shovel. 1932, a blurry shot of a town meeting, Auntie sitting in the third row. 1921, a formal portrait, the kind taken with old cameras that required long exposures. Everyone else slightly blurred from small movements, but Auntie was perfectly clear, standing at the edge of the frame with her hand on the shoulder of a small girl. That girl maybe 8 years old. I turned the photo over, written in faded ink, rescue volunteers with the Koczynski girl, found alive after 3 days. Miracle. My girl. The girl looked exactly like Nika. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the photograph. I kept going, pulling boxes I hadn't noticed before, files that seemed to appear as I searched, and in every decade, every generation, there was a photo. A young girl lost and found, and in every photo, somewhere in the frame, was Auntie. 1909, a child found in a snowdrift. 1887, a girl who wandered away during a storm. 1856, a daughter thought drowned beneath the ice. All of them the same age. All of them with the same dark eyes, the same serious expression. All of them alive because someone had found them. Someone had gone into the dark and brought them back, and in each case, within a month of the rescue, someone else had vanished. An adult, a volunteer, a hero. The ledger always bounced. I was about to close the last box when I found it. Not a photo, a book. Leather cover, walrus ivory toggle. Kind of binding that predated modern bookmaking. I opened it with trembling fingers and the pages crackled with age. The handwriting was Cyrillic mixed with Inupiaq symbols, scripts flowing together like water mixed with oil. But I could read the first entry, maybe because I needed to, maybe because it wanted me to. Akna, daughter of the storm, 1721, keeper of the balance. Let no debt go unpaid, let no name leave the ledger except in exchange for another. Her name was written in rust-brown ink. Blood ink. Every page that followed was filled with names, hundreds of them, thousands. Each one carefully inscribed, each one crossed out with a single decisive line, and next to each crossed name, another name, written in fresh ink. I flipped through decades, centuries. The handwriting never changed, the same careful script, the same shaky hand. At the very back, on the most recent page, I found my own name. Harper, Benjamin, SAR officer, debt assumed, 307, 6th night. Balance due 7th night. Below my name, a blank line waited. I sat there in the cold basement holding the book, understanding finally what this was, not a record, a contract, a bill of sale. The physical manifestation of the deal Akna had made 3 centuries ago. The book was still open to my page when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Margaret descended slowly, each step deliberate. When she reached the bottom, she looked at the book in my hands. Her smile never wavered. "You found it," she said. Her voice layers now, multiple tones braided together. "That's good. It's better when they understand." "How long have you been one of them?" 37 years. She said it simply, like she was telling me her anniversary. "I was a school teacher. There was a little boy lost in a whiteout. I found him, brought him home. Everyone called me a hero." Her head tilted. 3 days later, I looked at a walker. I really looked, and then I understood. It's not so bad, Benjamin. You stop feeling cold. You stop feeling afraid. You just continue. That's not life. No, she agreed. But it's not death either. It's service. It's purpose. The ledger needs keepers. The balance needs maintaining. Akna can't do it alone anymore. She's so tired, Benjamin. 300 years is so long. She needs help. I stood clutching the book. Where is she? Where she always is. Where she's been waiting for you since you took the debt. Margaret gestured toward the stairs. At the station. At 307. She'll be at the dispatch desk with the fountain pen, and all you have to do is sign the line below your name. Write someone else's name there. Anyone. A tourist who underestimates the cold. A drunk who won't be missed. An elder who's ready to walk into the white. Just a name, Benjamin. And then you're free. And if I don't? Then at 307, the walkers come for you. And you become like us, like Dale, like Morrison, like me. Balanced. She smiled that patient, empty smile. Forever. I pushed past her and ran up the stairs. Behind me, I heard her call out, voice echoing in the basement space. You can't run from a debt, Benjamin. It follows you. It always collects. I burst out into the street with a book under my arm. My truck was where I'd left it, engine still running, heat still blasting. I got in, and I checked the time. 2:23. 44 minutes. I drove back to the station with the book on the passenger seat. Its presence, a cold weight that seemed to press against my ribs. The streets were empty, no cars, no people, just the flat expanse of snow and the buildings standing like monuments to ordinary life. The station lights were on. Through the windows, I could see them. Dale at his desk, Morrison in the break room, the night clerk at her station, all of them moving with that same fluid, measured grace, all of them waiting. I parked and I sat there, engine idling, watching them. In the rearview mirror, I saw movement, a figure approaching from behind, tall and thin, silhouette cutting sharp against the aurora-lit sky. It walked with purpose, with recognition, boots leaving no prints in the snow. I looked down at the book, opened it to my page, stared at the blank line below my name. All I had to do was write. Choose someone, anyone. Transfer the debt. My pen was in my pocket. I pulled it out and I uncapped it. The figure was closer now. I could see it in the side mirror. It was wearing my SAR coat, my name patch visible, letters backwards, mirror flipped, its face a smudge, a photograph left in water too long, but I could see the outline of my features trying to form in that blank space. It was learning how to be me. I looked back at the blank line, then I closed the book. I got out of my truck. I walked back to the station with the book under my arm. The cold hit hard, but I barely felt it. The headache had crystallized into something beyond pain, a solid pressure that made my vision sharp and strange. The doors opened automatically. The heat inside felt too dry, too still. Dale looked up from his desk. Morrison appeared in the break room doorway. The night clerk stood from her chair. They all turned towards me in perfect synchronization, heads tilting at that familiar angle. "Benjamin!" Morrison's warm voice. "We're so glad you came back. Are you ready?" I walked past them without responding, heading for the operations room. Auntie was waiting at the dispatch desk just as Margaret had said that she would be. The ledger lay open before her. My page visible, the blank line, waiting. In her hand was a fountain pen, its barrel made from something that looked like carved bone, yellowed with age. She looked up as I entered, and for a moment I saw her as she truly was. Not the kindly elder everyone believed in, not the warm presence who'd worked dispatch for generations. I saw the hollowness. Centuries of borrowed time, the scar on her cheek that had never healed. Frost in her eyes that had replaced whatever humanity she'd once possessed. "Benjamin," her voice was soft, almost gentle. "You brought the book. Good boy. It's almost time. Are you ready to choose?" I set the book on the desk between us. Opened it to my page. "I want to understand something first," I said. "How did it start? How did you become this?" She was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the aurora flickered, casting green light through the windows. "They called me a witch," she said finally. 1721. I was a healer. I knew plants. I knew which roots stopped fever, which moss slowed bleeding. That was enough to make them afraid. When the sickness came that winter and I couldn't stop it, they decided that I was the cause. She touched her cheek, tracing the old scar. They cut me, marked me, dragged me onto the ice, and they left me to freeze. But you didn't freeze. No. Her eyes were distant, seeing 300 years into the past. Oh, I was angry. So angry. I wanted to live. I wanted them to suffer, so I cut my own fingers, all 10 of them, and I fed them to the dark, and the dark answered. It said, "You want to live? Then keep the books. Tundra takes people, always has. Someone has to maintain the balance. Someone has to make sure the debts are paid. Do this, and you will never die." So you became a monster. I became a keeper. Her voice hardened. For 300 years, I've maintained the balance. Every life saved means a life owed. The ledger must be full. The dark demands it. And yes, I've made the choices. I've written the names. I've watched them go into the white. She leaned forward. But I've also saved thousands, Benjamin. Thousands of children who lived because I made sure someone else paid their debt. That has to count for something. It doesn't. My voice was steady. You became what hurt you. You've done to others exactly what those villagers did to you for 300 years. Their face twisted. You don't understand. You can't understand. The dark doesn't forgive debts. It doesn't forget. If I stop, if the ledger goes unfilled, it takes everything, everyone. The balance collapses. Then let it collapse. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You sacrifice this entire town, everyone you've ever met, for what? Principle. No. I picked up the book. He held it between us. I'd sacrifice the system, the one that you've been feeding for 3 centuries, the one that only exists because you kept agreeing to it. I opened the book to the first page, to her name written in blood ink, never crossed out. The ledger says the debt can be paid by the hand that wrote it, I said. You wrote your name first. You made the deal. You've been paying with other people's lives for 300 years, but the original debt, that was yours, Akna. It's always been yours. She went very still. Outside, the aurora intensified, sheets of green and violet swirling overhead. The station lights flickered, the radio hissed static. What are you saying? Her voice had gone flat. I'm saying we end it. Both of us. Your name goes back into the ledger as the debt. My name stays as the keeper. We close the book together. No more transfers. No more children saved and adults sacrificed. Just the 2 names that started this. Yours and mine. You die. I'm already dying. I can feel it, the frost in my head, the blank spots, the thing wearing my face. At 3:07, I either become a monster like you, or I get taken by the walkers. Those are the only options left. I placed my hand on the book, palm flat against her name. Unless we change the rules, the dark won't allow it. Then let's find out. I reached across the desk and took the fountain pen from her hand. She didn't resist. For the first time in 300 years, I saw uncertainty in her eyes. I capped the pen. I placed the tip against the page right over her name. What are you doing? Finishing your story. The way it should have ended in 1721. With a choice, with agency, with an ending that's yours. And not theirs. I began to write. Not a new name below mine, but a line through hers, crossing out, Akna, daughter of the storm, 1721. She sucked in a sharp breath, the lights flickering violently, the radios shrieked, and she grabbed my hand. Her fingers, cold and brittle, pressed my palm down against the page alongside hers. If you're going to finish my story, then do it right. Tell them I was human once. Tell them I was afraid. Tell them I wanted to be found, not forgiven. Outside, the walkers appeared. Dozens of them, hundreds, filling the space around the station, tall, impossibly thin, dark silhouettes against the aurora light. They pressed against the windows, faces forming in that smudged blankness. All the people who'd looked, all the debts that had never truly cleared. They kept writing, the ink flowing across the page, not a crossing out anymore, a transformation. I wrote her story in the margins, around her name, every year, every choice, every moment of fear and rage and loneliness. I see you, I whispered. I remember you. You were Akna, you were human, you were hurt, and you survived the only way that you knew how. A sound like breaking glass filled the station. The book began to glow, pale light seeping between the pages. The names written there, all those centuries of transfers and debts and balances, began to lift off the paper, ink swirling into the air like smoke, like snow, like all the stories that had never been allowed to end. The radio clicked. "307. The walkers moved as one. Not toward me, toward her. They flowed through the walls like smoke, like memory converging on the dispatch desk. Shadow hands reaching out, dozens of them, hundreds. All the people she'd named over 3 centuries, all the debts that had been transferred and never truly paid. She didn't scream, she didn't fight. She just looked at me with eyes that had finally remembered how to be afraid, how to be relieved. Thank you for remembering me as human." And then the walkers took her. Not violently, gently, like they were helping an elder to her feet, guiding her towards a door that had been waiting 300 years to open. The light from the book intensified, becoming painful, white, and absolute. I felt the frost on my head crack, shatter, the pressure releasing all at once, leaving behind a clarity so sharp that it hurt. The station went completely black. I don't know how long I sat there in that darkness. Could have been seconds. It could have been hours. Time felt negotiable, plastic, like it was resetting itself to account for something that had been bent wrong for too long. When the lights came back on, the book was blank. Every page, every name. 300 years of entries gone, just empty vellum, yellow with age, waiting to be filled with something new, something that didn't require a sacrifice. The fountain pen lay on the desk, snapped cleanly in half. I picked up the pieces and put them in my pocket. And then I heard snoring. Dale was asleep at his desk, head pillowed on his arms, breathing deep and even. Real sleep, human sleep. I walked over and shook his shoulder gently. He startled awake, looking around in confusion. "Ben? What time is it? Why am I here?" "Hold it on lighter," I said. "Come on, let's get some coffee." In the break room, Morrison was slumped in a chair, coffee cup still in his hand, completely out. The night clerk was gone, her coat missing from the rack. Probably went home hours ago and nobody noticed. Everything felt normal, mundane, real in a way it hadn't been for 7 days. I checked the security footage, scrubbed back to 3:07. Timestamp showed my usual patrol routine, no standing in hallways, no whispering, no blank spots, just me. Filling out paperwork, looking tired, but human. The blank spots were gone. The false memories were gone. The thing wearing my face was gone. I drove home as the sun rose, painting the tundra in shades of pink and gold. The roads were empty. The town was waking up slowly, smoke rising from chimneys, people starting their ordinary days. My house looked the same as always. Sarah's car in the driveway, kitchen light on. I sat in the truck for a long moment, afraid of what I'd find inside. Then I walked in. Sarah was making breakfast. The kids were at the table arguing over the last waffle. They all looked up when I entered, and Sarah's expression was wary. Hurt, but real. Genuinely hers. "You came back," she said quietly. "I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate. "I'm so sorry. I can't explain where I've been, what I've been doing, but it's over." "Is it?" She looked at me carefully. "Are you back? Really back?" I crossed the kitchen and pulled her into a hug. She was warm and solid, And herself. I'm back, I said. I promise. My daughter tugged on my sleeve. Daddy, you smell like smoke. I'll take a shower, I said, and we'll have breakfast, all of us, together. It took weeks for things to fully normalize. Thomas brought me salmon again, thanking me for finding his daughter Nika when she'd gotten lost checking the nets. She was 9 now, he said, getting too brave for her own good. The details matched my memories. The timeline made sense. I never asked him if he remembered having a son named Tobias. Some questions are better left alone. The station ran its usual operations, search and rescue, welfare checks, the occasional tourist who underestimated the cold, but the success rate improved. Fewer people went missing, fewer debts needed balancing. Auntie's cabin sat empty. According to the borough's record, it had been abandoned since 1978, which now matched what the archive showed. Her name appeared in some historical records, but only where it made sense. A volunteer, a community leader, someone who'd helped when help was needed, and then moved on. The ledger stayed blank. I kept it locked in my desk drawer at the station, checking it occasionally to make sure no new names appeared. It remained empty. Clean. Waiting. The radios still clicked at 3:07. Every single night, that sharp, metallic snap across all 5 channels. I checked the logs. It went back for as far as our records existed. Not 11 years, not 100, just a feature of the equipment, probably. Atmospheric pressure, electromagnetic phenomenon. The aurora does strange things to signals. That's what I told myself. But sometimes on clear nights when I'm on patrol, I see a figure in the distance. Tall, thin, and dark against the snow. It doesn't move towards me, it doesn't threaten, it just stands there at the edge of visibility, at the place where the tundra meets the sky. And once, just once, I thought I saw it raise one hand. It could have been a wave, it could have been a farewell. It could have been the wind playing tricks with shadows and light. I didn't look directly at it, I didn't acknowledge it, didn't call out. I just kept driving. The ledger stays blank. Debt's paid, but the tundra still keeps its secrets, and I've become one of them. Every night at 3:07 when the radios click, I stop what I'm doing and I listen, just to make sure the silence that follows is truly empty. So far it has been. But I keep checking. I'll always keep checking, because that's what keepers do. We watch. We listen. We remember. And we make sure the dark stays empty of names. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and we're currently entering fall, which means Halloween is right around the corner. I just want to say thank you guys for watching tonight's video, listening to tonight's episode of the podcast, and to start expecting more audios as we go closer and closer to the spookiest day of the year. Once October starts, you know what that means. I'll be having out a video every single day until Halloween itself, and I expect to see you there. I mean it. I expect to see you there for every video, for every podcast episode, and I expect to see you like, comment, and subscribe, and all that jazz bell, what do you do on podcasts? Follow on Spotify? Yeah, that, for the month of October, and especially so you don't miss the 13-day countdown. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on this list of Patreons. Some of these amazing folks are Diana Kraus, AcidSystem, Blake Rattler, Brandon Mendoza, Brenna Caltuna, ChicagoHitman, CoryxKenshin, CrusaderChocobo, Dakota Best, Daniel Poulsen, Dante Kinkade, Enchanted Buns, Estebean, Hades' Nephew, himbojerry, Our Minute Seconds Time, Ingegerd Solstrom, Jay Kearns,
Jadis Pet, McMog, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Psychomel, Plant Piz, Red Shadow Cat, Remember the Sun, Salty Surprise, Samara Lynn, Seclude, Simba's Bloody Mojo, Sky Harbor, Smiley the Psychotic, Sully Man, Tolly Sue, Team Leo 76, The Demented Voice in Your Head, The Chavez Brothers, The Ginger Bros, Tommy Walters, Viceroy Scorn, William Wellington, Your Bro Keegan, Zabub, and Shadow Gardens. A huge thank you to you guys, everybody who shows up in the description down below, and as always, folks, sweet dreams.